The season 2 finale of You surprised many fans with a shocking revelation that changed everything for Joe and Love. However, buried deep within the new season is a secret second twist and hidden homicide that only some hardcore fans have noticed. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm revealing evidence of a secret murder that almost everyone missed in the latest season of You. There will of course be spoilers ahead, so take care if you're not all caught up. Season 2 surprised many viewers when they discovered that Love is like Joe, a serial killer with dangerously obsessive tendencies who not only killed her family's au pair but also murdered Candace and Delilah. But there's another character whose death remains shrouded in mystery, and that's Love's late husband, James. When Love tells Joe she became a widow, she explains that her husband was ill but is vague on the details.
He got sick and they tried to figure it out. But they did not.
There's already something a little suspicious about how Love mostly looks down and avoids eye contact with Joe as she tells him this. But in the 6th episode, we get numerous flashback scenes that reveal a lot more about Love's dynamic with her spouse. When she proposes to James that they try for children, he doesn't seem keen on the idea, and in another flashback, he argues with Love that they can't afford to raise children without taking money from the Quinn family, which is something they'd seemingly both agreed not to do. We can see from Love's reactions in these scenes that James's reluctance to have children with her was very painful, and that's also something she alluded to while talking to Joe.
My husband hurt me too, among other things by dying.
Ever since she killed Sophia, Love has been driven by a desire to create her own perfect family.
But families don't heal from something like that. So I began to fantasize about a new one.
But when James broke Love's heart by refusing to have children with her, I think she plotted to get rid of him. For example, just look how much Love relates to Joe's reasons for killing Beck.
Yeah, you did some terrible things. But that's what sensitive people do when they're trapped in a bad relationship.
So we have a motive for Love killing James, but how did she do it? Well, given she's a skilled chef, cooking would be a likely way to put her plan into action, and as she explained,
Baking is how I express I love.
we saw how Love baked a cinnamon bun for Joe that was made with salt rather than sugar after she discovered he'd lied about his real identity. At that point, Love still saw potential in Joe as a future partner and father to her children, so she didn't full-on poison him. Instead, she made him a foul-tasting cake as punishment and perhaps also a warning. By contrast, when James ruined Love's hope of ever creating a family together, she probably decided to get her own back and really make him pay. And because Love already knew what it took for Sophia's violent death to be covered up, she may have tried to kill James in a more subtle way that wouldn't raise as much suspicion. If Love found a way to poison James very slowly so it was hard to detect, then it might explain the fact that nobody ever discovered exactly what was wrong with him. In fact, she even referred to James detoxing in one of the flashbacks.
You're just detoxing.
Which could be a wellness thing, or could perhaps hint at him having a background of alcohol or drug abuse, something which would also provide plausible cover for his becoming sick. And of course, if there was any suspicion by doctors or the authorities, then it wouldn't be hard for the Quinns to cover it up, just like they did with Sophia. Love wouldn't even need to purchase any poisons that could be traced back to her because, as a chef as well as someone heavily involved in the wellness industry and running a grocery store, she could well know that the seeds of numerous fruits like apricots, cherries and peaches naturally contain cyanide compounds. With Anavarin's produce and kitchen at her disposal, Love could easily grind up small amounts of fruit stones and blend the powder in with James's meals to slowly administer small quantities of cyanide that would make him sick. Perhaps it's even a little tell that Love uses a peach as her introduction to Joe.
Do you think this peach looks like a butt?
And it's curious how Love reacts when Joe is hesitant to eat the muffin she brings him to eat while he's in the cage.
Is this what you're afraid of? No poison, Joe!
As Joe and Love are basically a mirror image of each other, Joe might well be thinking of what he did to Benji, or what Love did with the salty bun. But that moment is also drawing our attention to Love's ability to poison her victims. Okay, the poison theory may be plausible, but you might ask, why was Love so visibly upset and angry at James for hiding the fact he knew about his illness for 8 weeks before he told her? Well, it's worth remembering that although Love and Joe are both serial killers, they each seem to react differently when killing someone. Joe seems to be much more dispassionate and cold-blooded, whether he's killing on purpose or accidentally. But each time we've seen Love murder, whether it be Candace, Delilah or Sophia, she's been angry and distressed. So even if Love knew she was the reason James was unwell, she could be simultaneously upset but determined to go through with the deed because of her own warped obsession with raising a family. We can see this when she explains to Joe why she killed Delilah.
Did you actually believe I wanted to hurt anyone? I hated doing that to Delilah. Was I gonna let this destroy our baby's life? My whole life, I've been doing what it takes when I love someone.
And all the way back in the first episode of season 2, Love makes an interesting connection between the death of her husband and Joe.
Ever since it happened, I've been able to see this thing in people who've been through it. I see that every time I look in your eyes.
Love later finds out that Joe killed Beck, and if she sees the same in Joe as she does in herself, that's a big pointer that Love also killed the one she loved, James. Basically, both Joe and Love fantasize about a perfect partner or family, and when their loved one fails to fulfill that fantasy, they kill them. Some fans have also tried to connect Delilah's death with James by suggesting that she'd begun to investigate James's death along with Henderson's. They pointed to the board of information Delilah was using to write her article about Henderson and said there's a picture of James on there. Now I've checked the scene myself and I can't see any such picture, only a newspaper cutting mentioning Henderson's cancer and a photo of him that you could say resembles James a little. There is a mention of a James on an article to the side of that. The article's cut off, but the title seems like it might be about a film executive, and it talks in the past tense about a certain James who appears to have worked in the entertainment industry. If this is Love's deceased husband James, then it's possible she met him through 40's attempts to break into the movie business. So given what Love probably did to her husband, there's a chance she'll try to kill Joe as well, especially if she catches him creeping around their next door neighbour. Maybe she'll start slipping something into his food. And if Joe uncovers the truth about what happened to James, he'll very likely run for the hills. If you've got any season 3 theories, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Now, do you think Love killed her husband James? There's a poll for you to vote, just tap in the top right to cast your opinion and also to see the results. Next, tap left to discover all the Easter eggs and other killer details you might have missed in season 2, or tap right for another video you're sure to like. And if you enjoyed this, then a thumbs up and a share are hugely appreciated. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!